the email that scroll through, she'll probably pick up the link. Or y'all can listen and see.
Oh, it says person in participant.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I was going to see who was on camera so I know how to dress, but y'all must have been in here.
Sorry, yeah, it's just chaotic, we're trying to get everybody situated, and Chase been having issues ever since he got here.
Needed for the upper Zoom. Wow. I'm just saying that
Well, I think Chris can unmute, yeah. I'll let Chase know.
All right, I have a call-in from a user ending in 621. All right, I have a caller ending in 621. Good morning.
it may be Kyle. I don't see him, and he said he's on but muted.
Okay, Heidi, would his phone number begin with a 704?
I don't think so. Let me check.
Call from his personal phone.
Okay, I do have a 919 number ending in 497 as well.
The rec applicant is calling in too.
Okay, so you can hear me.
Chris,
All right,
can you hear
last
me?
time for the caller ending in 621. Can you hear me?
Kyle says he's 1721.
Okay, I do have a 1721. You said that was who?
That's Commissioner per year.
Okay, bring him in. Okay, he should be able to talk. Commissioner Puryear, you with us?
I'm here.
All right. Let's see here. All right. I have a caller ending in 497. Good morning.
That's me. Good morning.
All right, who am I speaking with?
This is Dave Rush.
All right, Brenda, do you want to?
Yes, sir. My understanding, Mr. Rush may make public comment, for a request of the board.
Hello?
Is that correct, Mr. Rush? Would you like to sign up for informal comment?
Yes, please.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute you again. We will unmute you when your time comes up.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Kirk Redmond? Is that what needs to be unmuted?
He is one of the rec board applicants, which will be muted during the informal interviews.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm not sure. We just had another caller come in.
There's another rec board applicant, Miss Brittany Lee, if she has called in.
Okay, I have a caller ending in 728. Good morning. Caller ending in 728. Good morning.
Well, that would be one of the sheriff's deputies, or one of the sheriff's staff members.
All right. And then I've got one ending in 242. I think that might be another guest. I'll confirm that with Sally. So the only one I've got is the 704 number ending in 661. That response from. All right. that's all the attendees that I have by phone that are not already identified.
Okay, and so we're prepared to go ahead and start the meeting?
So, yes.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call the May 18th, 2020 meeting to order. We'll ask that Commissioner Powell, would you lead us in invocation?
If you desire, please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for the opportunity of being here today, the health and strength that we have, and we pray for those that are less fortunate during this pandemic. We pray for each of them. We say a special prayer for the healthcare workers and emergency personnel throughout our county, state, and nation that are doing their duties and serving the public during these trying times. Be with us today in decisions that we discuss and make. May it be for the betterment of Person County. Guide us through the future. In my son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We'll ask Commissioner Sims to lead us in the pledge.
Will stand with me. Please flag. Read after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just like the public to know, especially the ones that are just called in, that we have present in the room with us, County Manager York, Commissioner Sims, myself, Commissioner Jeffers, Commissioner Powell. On the phone, we have Commissioner Jimmy Clayton, Commissioner Kyle Perrier, and County Attorney Ron Acock. We have first discussion and adjustment and approval of agenda. Hearing no adjustment, do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
It's been properly motioned. Do I hear a second? No, don't need a second. I'm thinking about my DSS meeting. Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, informal comments. Mr. Rush, I believe, is the only one. Okay,
Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, and he should be unmuted.
Mr. Rush.
Hi, good morning. This is Dave Rush.
Good morning, Mr. Rush. You have the floor.
Okay. My wife and I have a piece of property that we purchased. It's currently addressed as 1983 Perkins Drive. We've been fixing it up, and in honor of my wife, it's a private road, and I was hoping to rename it with my wife's name, whose name is Fran. I was hoping to rename it Fran Way Drive, Lane, Street, whatever. I know that they had put out to the neighbors some kind of certified mail or whatever, asking if they had any objections, and to my knowledge, so far nobody's replied. And I think the process is stalled, but I would guess that it's more apathy than opposition. I was just wondering if there's any way to resurrect that process to possibly rename that street.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. I think what,
I'm sorry, I think that, our GIS director, Sally Vaughn, who manages address changing and road renaming, I think she's available on if you wanted to check in with her. But we do have a process for that, and we can put him in touch with her, if that would be helpful.
Mr. Rush, have you worked with Sally Vaughn in the GIS to start the process?
Yes, sir, I have. It's been quite some time. She said that they had done mailings to the neighbors. It was part of the process to see if anybody opposed. But nobody's responded. But my take on it, I think, is that just nobody really cares. I don't think anybody has a real issue with it. And, you know, it's a private road. I don't know why it would bother them. But, you know, I don't know what the legal way to, you know, if there's a certain period of time whereby you can just assume that they're not in opposition, or, you know, I don't know how that works. But
Okay,
we're
Mr.
hoping
Rush,
to resurrect this.
I'll give you a phone number, and if you could call that back maybe after the meeting or this afternoon, it'll get you in touch with the right person to go ahead and continue your process or see where you are. And if you have
Okay.
something right,
I do.
you'll know. Okay, the county
Chairman.
number is 336
Mm-hmm.
597
597.
1720. And I
1720.
yes, sir, and I think I might have heard Sally Vaughn want to chime in, if you could, if Sally's online.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman and the board. We have been working with Mr. Rush for several months now, and he is correct. We contacted, there's only 2 other property owners out there. We contacted them via certified mail, requesting that they reply back within a 10 business day window with their pleasure about whether to rename the road or not. For both of those property owners, it's been more than 2 months, and we have not received anything back from them. I'm bound by the ordinance, and the ordinance dictates that I can only bring it to the board if 75% of the property owners agree with the renaming. Because there's only 3 property owners, we actually have to have all 3 in agreement before I can bring it to the board. And so that's kind of the stalemate where we are now.
Okay, so it sounds like Mr. Rush maybe need to contact his neighbors and make sure they can get in touch with Ms. Vaughn.
Okay. Okay, later on today, I'll get in touch and find out who they are, I suppose, and I'll make the attempt at doing so.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 1, discussion, adjustment, approval of consent agenda. Hearing no changes, do I hear a motion for approval?
Move.
Been properly moved, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 2, appointment to the Recreation Advisory Board. Formal interviews. Ms. Reeves, who do we have first?
The Board of Commissioners at its meeting on April 20th took action to hold the informal interview process with the 3 applicants of the Recreation Advisory Board. And these applicants are applying for a seat that was resigned in January. It is an unexpired term that goes to June 30th of 2021. We had 3 applicants, Mr. Joey Whitt, Ms. Brittany Lee, Mr. Kirk Redmond, and originally all 3 confirmed that they would be able to participate today in the informal interview process. Last night, Mr. Joey Whitt sent me an email saying that he had a work conflict this morning, so he was unable to. But I think we have at least Mr. Kirk Redmond available online here to speak with the board, and I'm not sure if we have confirmed Ms. Lee's attendance or not. So Chris, would you confirm the attendance and unmute one of the applicants, please?
I will unmute Mr. Redmond. The other folks I've not been able to confirm yet, but we can do that once his interview is complete.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Give me just a second. And Mr. Redmond is unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Redmond. How are you?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Good. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you applied for the Recreation Advisory Board, and then some other commissioners may have some questions.
I'm Kirk Redmond. I've been in Person County all my life. 48 years old. I got 3 kids, 3 grandkids. I served on the board in the past for probably about 10 years. I had to come off the board because I had to take a job in Raleigh. So I couldn't make the meetings on Wednesday afternoons because I work in 10 hours and couldn't make it to the meetings. That's the main reason I got off the board. I coached ball since my kids was little, and my oldest is 27 now. I started probably when they was 5 years old. I coached for RCS, middle school, high school basketball. I coached for football, Pee Wee football. And just that's about sums it up, I guess.
All right, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions?
I have a question. I could ask this. Derek Sims. Mr. Redmond, what is your, do you have any suggestions or ideas for improvements out there at, with Parks and Rec?
Well, I do have some ideas on this kind of old stuff I love to see get done. It's and plus it's like I would love to see a pool be established here for some for some people that can go there and swim and learn how to swim and do recreation and swim. I'd love to see that get approved. I know we still trying to get that approved, and also I just whatever the county really needs or people talk about, and that's really what I love to see get done. And people that's I guess what they really want, listen to the people and see what they really want.
Commissioner Powell, any questions? Commissioner Clayton, do you have any questions?
No.
Commissioner Perrier, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, thank you, Mr. Redmond. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Chris, do we know if Ms. Lee is on?
Excuse me. I am unmuting some users now to confirm.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, good morning, Ms. Lee.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Great. Hope you are as well. If you could share with us a little bit this morning about yourself and why you applied for the Recreation Board.
Okay. First of all, I'm a college student, full-time college student at Piedmont Community College. I've been a resident of Person County for 28 years. And I've sit here and being a resident here for so many years and kind of seeing a lot of things that Person County has done, a lot of things that a lot of people, are interested in. And with me being a college student, I kind of see, a lot of things and get a lot of feedback from the community, which is pretty awesome and kind of disappointing at the same time because I see a lot of people who complain about certain things, and then I see a lot of people who really love this community and would love to see it grow because it has a lot of potential. Well, being the president at Piedmont Community College of the Student Government Association, I've seen so many students who lack even little things or little social skills or, any kind of thing that can benefit them in their lifetime, not just temporary. But I applied to the board for many reasons. One reason being just because being a mother as well, I see a lot of things that the community can improve on, especially with the niece that I have. She's physically disabled, and there's a lot of things in the community that I think we could have. And I know a lot of things are under wraps, a lot of things that the Parks and Rec Department is actually trying to get going and kind of, to benefit everybody and every child of all abilities. So I thought that was one thing that I thought me having to give me my ideas and my feedback could also improve in some kind of way, or kind of just help the board out and kind of hear their ideas as well, which is pretty awesome. But I've also seen things that the department has been doing lately too, which is pretty awesome too. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to ask your question?
I would, if I could. Ms. Lee, just looking at the information provided to me, have you participated in Parks and Rec sports activities, coached, played in any sports, or anything like that with the Parks and Rec?
I have not coached. My son has been playing since he was 3. He is going on 8 now. So he's been with Parks and Rec for the last almost 4 years playing all his sports. But I've also had relations with John Hill anyway for the last 2 years, kind of just talking to him, brainstorming on certain ideas, and pretty much just had a few connections with some of the Parks and Rec department.
Thank you. One more question. If there's one thing you could do for the Parks and Rec to either change or make improvements, what would that be?
For every single resident, to accommodate every single resident in Person County, whether it be people who have financial or that are physically disabled, the opportunity to be able to play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. this is Gordon Powell, Ms. Lee. What, qualifications or attributes do you feel that you have or possess that you could contribute to making the things that you desire happen with Parks and Rec?
For me being like a witness, to having a niece that's physically disabled and seeing a lot of things, not just Person County, but a lot of counties that lack certain equipment. And I think by me having hands-on experience, by me witnessing it firsthand, that I could be a good advocate for it, since I advocate for children with disabilities as it is. I think that I could bring a lot to the table, because I see it. I see so much, and I see a lot of things in communities that don't have certain things. And by me being an advocate and me actually experiencing it with my niece, I could bring that to the table and kind of help other residents in the community that don't have a voice. People who don't have a voice, and people who can't speak up, or people who have parents who want to speak up and are scared to, or scared of rejection, just to be that voice and that advocate for those people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Clayton, do you have any questions?
No.
Commissioner Perrier, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lee. We appreciate you calling in with us today.
Thank you.
Okay, you've had your interviews. What's the pleasure of the board?
I would, Commissioner Sims, I would like to make the motion. Experience that he has.
A motion on the floor to appoint Kurt Redmond. You have further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 3, agreement to provide food services for the Person County Detention Center. Chief Deputy Kevin Crabtree. High Sheriff Dewey Jones.
I would like to start first. First, I'd like to say thank you to Frankie for all the services he's done over the years. With the process, like I said, a few years back, being asked supposed to go out and search, we have actually found something now, and I am here today to make a recommendation that we move forward with the new contract. We have found many different revenue sources that have actually been an eye-opening experience to us. I just want to let you know that available that Chief Crabtree is here with all kind of data. We have Captain Chandler from the jail. We also have online representatives from Kimball's, and also, Mr. Frankie's here, so if you have any questions, we'd be more than glad to answer whatever you may have.
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Back in November, we were approached by a separate company shortly after we were approached by Frankie Day about it. This was the year his contract was up. He was given a 7-year contract last time and was trying to negotiate for a new contract. Up until then, we did not realize there was another company on the market that provided canteen as well as the food services. Kind of the package deal is always very convenient, of which some of the board members had previously asked for if there was anything else out there. So we allowed the company to submit a bid in our full beliefs that we thought they would never touch our per meal prices because we thought we had the best in the business. To our shock, we came back and they were about 50 cents a meal cheaper than what our current contract was. And I'll take responsibility for this, but whether it was bad business or not, I actually shared their proposal because it was a public record with Mr. Day, so he to see if he could come back near those numbers, not thinking that he would be able to. In the meantime, we started looking at a third part of this contract that we deal with, which is supplies for our detention facility. And what we found when we went to researching that, some of the numbers that we were paying for supplies were seemed very high. So then we started our own research and communicated with DADCO, with Mark and Terry Allen and everything. I actually have a spreadsheet with me today where 7 of our most used items, where if we did this out of our own business, with my captain, the lieutenant, and the jail, just on these 7 items, we would save $55,000 a year. Once you throw in the 7.75% tax that we're currently having to pay, that the county doesn't pay, or we at least get refunded. That's just on 7 items. Also, at the last meeting, it was some discussion on what the meal calorie count was going to be, whether this was for 2,100 or 3,000. The company, Skillet, that does the food part of Kimball's, will be providing 3,000 calorie a day meal. They did confirm this back in January, and once again, that was also shared with Mr. Day through a text message. So and as the county manager's seen with our yearly budget, we are very confident that we will be able to cut $50,000 off of our food budget this year, maybe as much as $100,000. Just from us paying attention and seeing some of these numbers go down, we have already purchased 3 patrol cars ahead this year that y'all will not have to argue over when budget time comes. And most of that savings came out of our food budget. And it's because of supplies. Supplies is the hidden thing in this food budget. We were paying $22 a box for gloves, and we've received prices as low as 7 or 8. And everything we did price, we did apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Laundry detergent, Ultra, we were paying $179 per 5-gallon bucket. You can go on Amazon today and get that same bucket for $69.99. So these are just some of the numbers that allowed for this savings. As the sheriff said, we've had a very good partnership with Mr. Day over the years, and that's why I shared the other person's contract with him so he had the advantage to be able to see what numbers he was competing against. They came in, they offering 26% on the canteen. We were, at the time, we were getting 13.5% on our canteen. And a new contract that has been proposed to go up to 28 by Mr. Day. We also, when we entered into the 7-year contract, it was y'all awarded the 7-year contract, which was extremely long because there was $100,000 worth of kiosk equipment that was supposed to be purchased for the jail. At the 5-year mark of the 7-year contract, this equipment had not been purchased, and we entered into a contract with a different company that we've got the equipment for free, but we do not get profit off of that company for 5 years. It's the video visitation in the jail and the kiosk. So we're paying the $100,000. And these are just some of the factors that, for us, we feel like going forward with Kimball's and Skillet is best for the taxpayers of the county. Thank you.
Chief,
any questions?
Questions now? Do y'all want to hear from Mr. Day first, or?
I guess my question on the savings, the $55,000 or the $100,000 that we're saving, where does that go? I know you talked about the patrol cars, but where does that actually go? Does it come back to us, or does it stay with the sheriff's department? How does that work?
Once the contract is executed, then we would just budget for the amount of the new contract. So we don't have a budget that keeps the same contract in place. It zeroes out each year. So we would have already taken into account that in your upcoming budget, that savings, and it would revert back in the general fund.
So no, it would change.
We have budgeted in right now the $50,000 conservative savings, because either way, either proposal that you choose, that savings would be realized in next year's budget.
And I was looking at the contract. Is this a 3-year contract?
Yes, I believe it is. Whereas I believe Mr. Day's wanting a 4-year contract. The company will, either way, there will be some equipment purchased by either entity, and, you know, the contract lets them get back to even on the equipment.
Commissioner Clayton, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Commissioner Perrier?
No, sir.
Okay. It's a pleasure to the board to hear from Mr. Day. Mr. Day?
Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. I just want to go over a few things. I think the last meeting, we went over pretty much our contract information, but today I got before you. If you look on the left-hand side, there's a few things I would like to go over with you. I was born and raised here in Person County. Been in the food service, my family has since '56. I've been in it all my life. I own property here. I pay property taxes here, and I vote here in Person County. I've had the food service here. I'm at the jail for approximately 28 years or less. I had no known problems from the sheriff or the facility. I've worked under 3 different sheriffs doing food service. In the beginning, I ordered and set up the equipment for the county, and I think the contractor that built the building had a large price tag on the equipment. So the sheriff at the time asked me to help him with the purchase of the equipment, and we saved a lot of money there by doing it that way. I ordered at the time, about 25 years ago, I ordered and purchased the equipment for the laundry room, the commercial equipment at no cost to the county. And I looked after all the equipment in the kitchen and the laundry, and I report any problems. So the management at the jail does not have to really worry about the equipment in the facility, unless I'll make sure I report any problems. I assure and always have a problem-free service to the sheriff. In 2013, I agreed to purchase the in-house team monitoring system that Chief Crabtree was speaking about. At the time, Mr. Fashie and I said myself, we had to have the building rewired and with power and Cat 5 wiring, and we talked to several companies, and that was the county was going to pay for that, and it never got wired. But at the time, the technology was not as good as it is now, and the companies that did put it in, I think, did it themselves instead of the county having to pay it. And at the time that we were talking to the company, it wasn't, I don't know where the $100,000 came from, but it wasn't going to be that much money to install the equipment. In October 7th, 2019, Chief Crabtree and I made a verbal handshake agreement to renew the contract for 4 years, and 4 years came from Mr. Crabtree, not myself, but 3 years is the first time I've heard of that this morning. But we entered the agreement that for a 4-year contract under the conditions that I purchased needed laundry equipment to be replaced and the kitchen equipment that needs to be replaced. The paperwork, the contract will be signed at a later date. I ordered and purchased a new laundry washer and meat slicer that was not working that very day after our meeting that we agreed on, which is approximately about $9,500. November the 12th, I was informed the chief was talking to another company. Our agreement would need to be renegotiated, but because of my loyalty and service, which I was told over the many years, there should be no problem. That I had been loyal to the department and had no problems. I was informed and presented a pricing and percentage along with menu from the other company, Mr. Crabtree, which I took and to see if I could compete, which I can, beat the prices and percentages as long as I can adjust the menu to meet the needs, the same as the other company. Canteen wise, right now we're paying 13%, and I agreed to pay 28% under the conditions that I can raise the prices as high as the other company is going to raise the prices on the canteen. I would be glad to do that. Me personally feel like that the raising the prices, as much as we're going to have to raise them, as much as the other company is going to have on their canteen items, is going to slow down sales. But I'll be glad to. 28% is not a problem with the prices that they're giving you. My contract proposal for food service, canteen supplies and equipment. If you notice in my proposal there, I agreed to purchase, and it has to be done right away, whether it's me or whether it's you guys, the county, or whoever. About right away, it's about $37,000 that needs to be purchased. One laundry machine is operating right now. If it goes out, you have no laundry machine. The one that we purchased in October, the old machine was saying it was on its last leg, and the company that does their service on the machine, last time it serviced the old machine that's out now, that's not even running, told me that it just, you're wasting money on it, that it's on its last leg. So what I'm saying is, if the county, the pricing of the equipment, of these supplies, if anybody had told me at any time we have an issue here, we could have sat down and talked about it. This is the first I'm hearing about these pricing problems. Have any questions?
Questions from the board?
I just want to reiterate one thing. You're talking about matching the other company. They were talking about 3,000 calories. Are you matching the 3,000 calories?
Right now, we're giving 3,200 calories right now. I've looked at I was presented with their menu, I've looked at their menu, and I have no problem doing the way their menu is showing. No, sir, not at all. I'll be strictly within the guidelines of the state of North Carolina.
Mr. Powell?
No, as Deputy Crabtree mentioned, there's a difference there in supplies, I believe, quite a bit of difference. So how does that equate, how does that work within the two proposals? Are those separate entities? Styrofoam, I would assume, plates and cups, and that sort of what you're talking about?
The way it works right now is, I was asked many years ago, not by this year, but way before, way back, that I supply supplies to the jail, toilet paper, supplies, and I told them I could, and if they wanted to. I gave them a price list, they went with it, and we ordered as they needed. And we don't use cups in the kitchen. We don't use toilet paper, paper towels, stuff like that. The facility does, but we don't. It's within. I can get cheaper toilet paper, but we've tried that, and I was told to go back to the better toilet paper. I get cheaper laundry detergent, but we went to cheaper laundry detergent once before, and we got people had to be seeing the doctor because they were breaking out. So I was told to do better laundry detergent. It's just like anything else. You can get as cheap as you want to get, and consequences are the consequences. I mean, I've always felt like, when Sheriff Jones came aboard, I sat down with him and made sure that, is there anything you want to change, anything you want to do different than the previous sheriff, and there was no, everything was fine. I want to keep the contract. I want to continue to do work there. I feel like, I've always felt like that, instead of a contractor, a partner, with the county. It was, I know that, 2013, the bill was way, way high, and you were concerned, everybody was concerned. But that was the same year that we had 2 drug busts. It was all about the numbers. Numbers go up, costs go up, numbers go down, costs go down, because since then, hadn't had any issues with being over budget in the food service. But we hadn't had any drug busts since then. And what is drug bust or whatever it is, we haven't had that many people in jail.
Commissioner Clayton, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Commissioner Puryear?
No.
Chairman, does Mr. Crabtree have any do you want to make any comment? Question was asked, was there any comments you want to make? Look like you wanted to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Day.
I wanted to respond to Mr. Powell. The other company is not bidding on supplies. They don't want to do the supplies. They said if we wanted them to, they would, but their bid is strictly on canteen and food. Whereas our goal going forward is for the captain and the lieutenant in the jail to handle all the supply orders. And like I said, we've already gotten a lot of prices from DACO because we won't, that will take us out of doing the middleman. And like I said, when I said $50,000, that was only on 7 items. I mean, we're talking about a supply item that runs probably 15 or 20 depot items. So, the other company is not, they'll get what we want them to, but they're not here about supplies. They're here about food and canteen.
And I'm fine with that too. I mean, if they want to do the supplies, anytime, you can do the supplies. I have no problem.
Commissioners, do you have questions that you want of the competing company? Do you need to bring them on the phone? Mr. Powell, feelings on that? Mr. Clayton or Puryear, do you all have any questions for Kimball? Kimball?
No.
Nope.
That's it. Welcome. Yes, sir. Commissioner Puryear, do you have any questions for the Kimball Company?
No.
Okay. Further questions from the board to the sheriff and his staff? Mr. Day? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board? I'll make a motion to go with Kimball's. Have further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you. New business, nomination of a board vice chairman. I've only missed 2 meetings in 12 years, but we need a vice chairman. Any
Nominate Gordon Powell.
Okay, it's been properly moved to nominate Commissioner Powell for vice chairman. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Powell.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5, funding request for the city's western sewer system.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm on behalf of the City of Roxborough sharing this request that we received from their city manager. They are requesting the county to partner in funding and supporting their western sewer system engineering and design of construction documents. This project will increase the sewer capacity on the southern part of Roxborough and Person County. They've gone through a competitive RFQ process and have selected Lapella Engineering and they have attached a scope of services for that. The estimated cost, what was proposed, is $568,000, and they would like the county to partner in this project by funding that part of the project. The project itself is estimated to cost around $10 million, and they're going to be seeking loans and grants to fund the bulk of the project, but they need to do the engineering up front in order to apply for the funding sources. We know that without the construction of this western sewer system, we have faced some wastewater constraints. This has hindered development on the southern part of Person County and the southern border of the city of Roxborough. So we're hoping that projects involving mixed use will find this area more palatable once we have alleviated the sewer constraints. We have discussed funding this from the board's water and sewer fund. We do have enough money in the current budget to go ahead and allocate this from that. So this would not be new money that you would find. This would be existing money, and this would be an eligible project that you could use those funds for. So we are requesting that you fund the design and engineering costs in the current budget from your water and sewer fund at the cost of $568,000.
Okay, you've heard the request. Questions from the board? All right, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, Jimmy Clayton, I move for approval.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Comments from Commissioner Sarr? Discussion? I think that Commissioner Powell, you can speak to it. Well, all of us, I guess, now have served on the Economic Development Board, including Mr. Sims, the importance of this project to the southern end of our county. And I think any way that we can partner with the city that's going to assist us in hopefully attracting or developing more economic development in the county is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not only the southern part, it will enhance our growth in the western sector as well. I know we've got some potential projects out there that this will enhance and will certainly be a benefit. I think it's a very, very good move on this board's part to partner with the city, because as you mentioned, we've all sat in on EDC meetings and we know the background there and the potential growth. This will be quite a feather in the hat of economic development in Person County, so I think it's a very good move.
This is certainly something we've discussed at the Economic Development Commission. It's a project I've supported once we brought this online, so I'm very happy that we're moving forward with it. So, and it will bring, once it's installed and everything's done, it will bring economic development to our county. I feel strongly about that. Very good.
Further discussions from Clayton or Freer?
Nope, I'm good with it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 6, Comprehensive Land Use Plan Steering Committee appointment. Lori Oakley.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The comprehensive plan is currently underway, the update to the plan, and last week we actually had our first one-on-one introductions with the consultant and the committee members. Our next round of meetings will consist of stakeholder interviews, which will be held either the last week of May, probably the first week of June. Just so you know, if you remember me bringing this before you last fall, the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee is made up of 10 individuals, 5 representing the county jurisdiction and 5 representing the city, since we are partnering with the city of Roxborough on this. When I contacted the committee members to schedule their initial meeting with the consultant, one of the committee members, Barry Fouché, resigned due to his relocating out of state. In the interest of time, since again this project has already begun, I would request that the board select from one of the original applicants to fill the remaining seats. When I presented this to the clerk, I had reached out to all 4 remaining individuals, and 2 of them had expressed an interest in serving on this committee, Mr. Philip Reams and Mr. Bruce Whitfield.
It is my understanding, though, that perhaps Commissioner Clayton may have had a conversation with Mr. Whitfield, and he might no longer be interested.
I believe that is correct. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I would like to nominate, this is Jimmy Clayton. I'd like to nominate Philip Reams.
Okay, we have a nomination on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Lord. Item number 7, update on Person County participation in the national opioid litigation. County Attorney Ron Acock.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this update could be all day long. I've tried to limit it by summarizing it in the materials which you have. I will not take too much time going over the crisis which prompted the various lawsuits. Just for a summary, we all know that the nation is in an opioid crisis, overuse, illegal use, and too much involvement of the lots of communities, criminal communities as well. This whole issue came to the attention when back several years ago, opioid manufacturers, which first manufactured as an effective painkiller, began to intensely market the opioids for pain control. They did so without regard to the medical facts. In fact, there was a study in the respected New England Journal of Medicine which clearly stated that opioids, when used as a pain control measure in a controlled setting with elderly patients, did not have a likelihood of addiction. Manufacturers, distributors began marketing the opioids without that limitation. They took away from the advertisements in a controlled institutional setting with elderly patients and began to market them, it's generally as a pain control measure with no problem with any addiction. The result was total overuse by the medical community and the patient community, criminal involvement, drug mills, and a national crisis. Federal law required the opioids to be distributed not directly by the manufacturers, but through separate distribution companies. Those companies were required by federal law to report to the federal government if there were any apparent overuse. Their compliance was marked really with non-compliance. Very few, if any, reported the misuse. And in fact, we had several areas throughout the nation with small towns of hundreds of populations selling hundreds of thousands of prescriptions every year. Result was to accelerate the crisis. 2-3 years ago, some local governments and some states' attorney generals began to file lawsuits against 3 classes of defendants: the national manufacturers, the distributors, and some major retail areas. Person County in early 2018 became interested in involving themselves in that lawsuit. And in January 2018, this board elected to engage a national consortium of law firms through the Daniels firm in Caswell County who participate in the lawsuit. This lawsuit is unique, perhaps one of a kind ever. This is not a class action lawsuit. You typically hear about these national lawsuits as class action lawsuits. These are individual lawsuits consolidated for consideration by a federal court in Ohio. It is called the multiple district litigation. That multiple district litigation standing for multiple federal court districts. Our Person County lawsuit was filed in the Middle District Federal Court. Throughout North Carolina, 75 counties now have filed lawsuits. Over the country, there are about 750 counties, cities, tribal governments who have filed lawsuits. Most states' attorney generals have also filed lawsuits. The result then has been an attempted consolidation through the Ohio Federal District Judge. He has tried to manage the litigation. There have been several individual lawsuits tried, some recoveries, but the attempt now is to see if there can be what's called a global settlement, that is a settlement with the defendants involving all plaintiffs, local governments, as well as states' attorney generals. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners has been at the forefront of helping counties in this matter from the beginning. It first called a meeting in Raleigh of county attorneys to hear from the national law firms, help them decide whether to participate, and if so, which national firm. It has had a meeting at the county attorneys' winter meeting and the county city managers' winter meeting with the attorney general and representatives of the national law firms to further discuss it. And finally, the County Commissioners Association has appointed a 15-person committee to advise on going forward or settling on the lawsuit. There are 5 county commissioners, 5 managers, and 5 county attorneys. I am privileged to be one of the 5 county attorneys on that statewide committee. It has been an ongoing effort. Your county departments and staff spent multiple hours a year and a half ago pulling together the impacts of the opioid crisis in Person County. That was sent into the national firm to be joined with similar information across the country in order to try to develop a measure of damages resulting from the opioid crisis. It will rival the tobacco settlement if we ever get to a settlement, and there is some discussion, hopeful discussion now. Some of the manufacturers, major one, Purdue, and the Sackler family, which owns Purdue, have filed for bankruptcy. We will have a claim in that bankruptcy as well. A very complicated legal situation with possible ultimate success and impact when finally concluded, both in the control of the opioid distribution and overuse, as well as perhaps substantial monies to try to find ways to alleviate the misfortune that the people across the country have had. That is a very short summary of a very long and complicated process, and I would be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Ron?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Clayton, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Commissioner Perrier? Are you still there, Commissioner Perrier? All right, Chris, see if you can get Commissioner Perrier back. Questions, Commissioner Sims, Powell?
I don't have any questions, just want to comment on that, appreciate what Ronnie presented to us. This opiate crisis is very important. Chairman of the Drug Awareness for the East Central District, and with the Elks, and I've seen a lot of people dying from this overdose of opiates, and so it's very important. And I'm glad we're involved in this.
I would, again, echo those sentiments. Appreciate all the efforts that have been put forth in there. Being on the Cardinal Innovations Health Board, addictions are part of what we do. Well, a great deal of what we do. And we see the impact of that all over our 20 county catchment area, and it's certainly a problem here in Harrison County. And one part that I do like, number 5, is funding when and if it's ever a reality will not be controlled by the state. We need local control because we know more about the needs of Person County than any of the other counties. So I think that's a very good move, and I would appreciate you continuing to uphold that statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. We hope to see something soon. I notice with my capacity with NACO, we've seen where some states or some large urban counties who have kind of taken it on themselves have started to see some wins. I think one of being Columbus, Ohio. We hope to, I think they got some direct payments from some of the pharmaceutical companies to fund some programs there for the opioid crisis and recovery and treatment type programs. And so we definitely hope, and as Commissioner Powell said, people don't realize it is a problem in Person County. If you don't believe me, just look at our list of foster children that we have at DSS, and a lot of them are direct result of families that unfortunately have drug abuse. All right, no action needed on that item. Thank you, Ron. Item number 8, presentation of our fiscal year 2020-21 manager's recommended budget.
Brenda, do we have copies of it? Okay, so we can run up order again. Good morning, Commissioners, those of you in the boardroom with us this morning, and our Commissioners who are joining us remotely. I am pleased to present your recommended budget for fiscal year 2021. Before we get started, I just wanted to say what a team effort it takes to put together this budget. We work on this for the larger part of half of the year. It's very cyclical. Thank you for your input. Thank you for the wonderful staff we have, and the analysis and their creativity is what makes putting this budget together possible. And thank you to Laura Jensen, who not only serves as our budget manager, but she has pulled double duty this year, also serving as our interim assistant county manager. You will recall from your board retreat back in February that at that time our revenues were projecting strong and steady. We were working towards our debt financing model and getting poised for some large capital investments. Instead, the unpredictability of a global pandemic has changed the course of your recommended budget. These unprecedented times have made planning for this upcoming fiscal year a little more challenging than most years. We must proceed with an abundance of caution and spending as we navigate through what is virtually an unknown recovery period for next fiscal year. Okay, so your fiscal year 21 budget overview, Your general fund, which mainly provides for services funded through property tax dollars, is recommended at $62 million. This reflects a decrease in spending of $3 million over your current fiscal year. So that's a 5% reduction in your general fund. When we look at all funds, that amount is $72 million. And all funds include not only this general fund, but some of your special revenue funds as well. Person industries and recycling, your water and sewer fund that we spoke of earlier, E911, stormwater are just a few examples of those other funds that under the all funds category. And this is also a decrease of almost $500,000 next year and a reduction as well. So the impact of COVID-19 on county services and revenues is what's really driving this reduction. We have a pandemic economy. We're not exactly sure what that looks like, but let me give you a glimpse of what we see presently. Our revenues, sure they're uncertain, but they're also declining. We do have revenue losses, and the extent to which is unknown at this time. Your capital investments are delayed. You're aware that your 5-year capital improvement plan has been put on hold with the hopes of bringing it back this fall for discussion as part of our larger capital investment strategy with our debt consultant. Also have flat spending in this budget. And while that may sound passive, this means making tough decisions about services that are needed for our residents. We have no expansion projects. We have no new positions. No increases in county services. You're also aware that we have started recently a small business emergency loan program run through our economic development staff. This is our pivot program. So far to date, 7 loans have been approved, totaling over $50,000 granted to our local businesses to help support them during this time. We also see a growing demand up in our social services department, particularly in the food and nutrition services. From March to the first part of May, we processed over 500 applications. A normal week, we are processing about 30 applications a week. Some weeks during this period, we processed as much as 90 applications in a week. And then on our unemployment, our data has about a 45-day lag, so I can only see right now through March 31st. At that time, from March 1st to 31st, there were 1,188 unemployment claims filed, with 82% of those, 972, due to COVID-19. This number is continuing to grow month after month. So our residents are struggling. Economists have confirmed that we're entering a recession. So the story for your new budget is that the funds are not there for increased spending. The funds are reflecting a need for reductions in spending. Your property tax next year then is set at 72 cents per $100. This is $100 of value, and this is consistent with your current year, which did have an increase. 1 penny next year is projected to generate $450,418. When I compare this with current fiscal year 20, which was $447,956, we're only seeing very small growth of just over $2,000 on the value. Our collection rate has always been conservative. Russell and his talented staff achieve at least this 97.5% each year, usually much higher. So we feel comfortable keeping this rate consistent next year as well. So moving into revenues, again, this is what we know now. It's possible that additional impacts from COVID-19 will be coming, and we'll need to reevaluate this during the coming fiscal year. Your $3 million decrease in your general fund is primarily in these categories. The biggest hit next year is in sales tax due to the pandemic. We are projecting a decline of about 14%, so 1.1 million less than current year, resulting in collections of 7.2 million in sales tax. I usually have it saying interest earnings. This year, for next fiscal year, we're projecting no interest at all, so an interest loss of nearly $500,000. Our public health is seeing a decline in revenues. This is due to less Medicaid reimbursement for services. And then both person industry and the MRF for recycling are seeing smaller outside contracts, which are reducing their revenues by $140,000. We do have some small increases. There is some good news here. On your real property tax, again, very slight incremental growth. We are projecting an increase of just over $100,000 on real property tax. We have a smaller increase in DMV revenues from what we have seen in previous years, just over $100,000 on that as well. What will be different next year is our timing for the receipt of these revenues, because residents may choose to delay their inspections and their tag renewals without penalty. And our largest gain next year is still projected in our inspection fees. We're estimating to grow those up to about $100,000, which represents a 25% increase. So an additional $100,000 gain next year there. Here's your pie chart that basically is just answering, where does the money come from? This gives you some idea, and the dependency, of course, on our property taxes. Again, sales taxes will be less, and your use of fund balance, which I'll get to in a minute, is also less from your current year. Okay, shifting to the expenditure side, again, we're seeing a $3 million decrease on the expenditure side to match. We did ask departments to submit flat budgets next year, and then, of course, not funding your capital improvement plan this year has provided some major relief on those streamed revenues. So we have only 3 projects recommended next year, totaling just $386,000. I have 2 for the community college system, an installment payment on their telephone system, and pod building for early college. That's an installment payment as well. And then we have 1 project for the school system, which is a Windows replacement project at South Elementary. Your Economic Catalyst Fund is set for $1.2 million, with $479,000 is designated for incentive payments. Some increases in expenditures include in fleet with vehicle replacements. In IT, we're taking on a 3-year cybersecurity project, and we also have some just general replacement of aging computers. And then we have some personnel costs, which are increasing across all county departments, and I'll explain that a little further in the upcoming slide. On the decreases for expenditures, again, public health, we have found ourselves in a position of needing to eliminate some vacant positions, understanding that the director may need to come back in mid-year as she starts seeing a need to fill positions. She would need to come back to the board to have those reinstated. We have a large decrease in planning due to funding your comprehensive land use plan in the current year. And then we have a slight decrease in your reappraisal reserve, about $45,000 less there, and reappraisal is planned for fiscal year 21. A few other expenditure highlights that we know our public is interested in hearing about. VSDs, just to remind you, are funded solely from the fire tax, so there's not a general fund appropriation to support those. The fire tax, also like our property tax, will remain flat next year at 2.75 cents. This is estimating to generate just over $1 million for fire funding next year. It's the year where we are increasing our city fire contract by an automatic 2%, as written in the contract. We alternate that 2% increase every other year with the VFDs in the off year. And on your fleet that I mentioned, we had a request for 17 replacement vehicles. I am recommending 9 of those 17 requested, so just a little over half. Those 9 that I'm recommending consist of 6 vehicles for the Sheriff's Department, 1 PAT vehicle, and then 2 for our fire admin. So a total cost for fleet of $304,000. And here's your matching pie chart, which is answering our question of where does the money go. And you can see that your largest percentage there is really the highest priority of public safety. That one has continued to grow. All right, and moving on to fund balance, which is essentially the county savings account, best restricted, as you know, for one-time expenses rather than recurring operating costs. However, this is those rainy day times that we've often talked about, and those call for assistance in supplementing some of our operating revenues. The recommended budget appropriates $3.67 million, and although this sounds like a lot, it represents almost a 38% increase in spending of fund balance from current year without those large capital projects. Breaking that 3.67 down a little further, you have 1.47 for one-time capital purchases in there. You have 1.2 million for operating expenses. We are hoping this serves as a placeholder as we're anticipating some COVID-19 relief funding that would help supplement that.
I was listening and I seen your slide, you said increase, but 38% decrease.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you, Chairman. I did mean to say almost 38% decrease from fiscal year 20. That's an important change. Thank you for that. And then finally, there's $1 million appropriated for debt service, which is being put in your new capital investment fund. This is a new fund you wouldn't have seen in the budget prior to this year. We talked about this at your retreat, and this is a special revenue fund. Both debt service and education capital projects will be moved to this revenue source. Speaking on county workforce funding, we did ask for a flat budget request. However, I did receive a request for 8 new FTEs spread across different departments. I'm not recommending funding any new positions at this time. We have a continuation of merit pay that's been consistent for a large number of years now. I have longevity pay as well funded in this budget. And then there were actually 4 increases to personnel lines that are all outside of our department director's control. Across all county departments, we have increases due to the second and final phase of the implementation of the employee pay compression study. I have a required contribution to the state retirement system. This is for the local government employee retirement system, which has mandated a 13% increase to the employer contribution. And then, of course, we have our health insurance for our employees, which is increasing almost 13% next year. This is driven by the claims of our users as we are self-funded. And then one that I didn't include on here is that we have sort of an anomaly with the calendar for 2020 and our pay periods. So we have an extra 27th pay period added this year, and that is also adding an additional $851,000 next year in personnel expenses. On to education funding. Keeping consistent, we have flat current expense funding recommended with an increase in capital. The technology capital is not funded in this recommended budget, as the superintendent has indicated he has some COVID-19 relief funds that he would like to dedicate to technology next year. So we actually took that out after he had requested it, and instead funded the South Elementary window replacement project. So there's the chart showing the breakdown of funding for the schools is totaling around $11.9 million next year. And one question that I got from commissioners when we did our one-on-one briefings was what teacher supplements were looking like. So we pulled the data to look at that. In the superintendent's request, there was a 1% increase in teacher supplements. We have fallen in our ranking. We were a bit higher than this in previous years, but as other 115 other local public school districts are increasing their supplements, we've not kept pace with our ranking. So we are just below now the state average. And the graph here is showing the highest, and then ranks from there. And then on Piedmont Community College, again, consistent with the rest of our spending, we have a flat current expense funding recommended. We have capital operating funds in the amount of $53.6, and that CIP funding of those two projects I had mentioned earlier, and that's what their funding distribution looks like, for a total of about $1.5 million. Your next steps in this important budget process include holding a statutorily required public hearing that is scheduled for June 1st at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. We will need a decision from the board as to whether this is a virtual remote meeting or if you want to hold it as a traditional meeting where folks will come in and speak. So we can talk about that in the next item as well. I have 2 work sessions tentatively scheduled for this budget. Those include June 4th at 10 a.m. and June 8th at 10 a.m. And if we need to make changes to those, please let me know. Sometimes we only need 1 work session. Sometimes we need up to 3 we've used before. So that can be a fluid process, but those are the 2 I have tentatively planned for now after talking with each of you during our meetings. And then our final slide here, just where you can find all of this information, including the recommended budget document, which has been passed out to you this morning. This message and presentation, all of these are available to the public on our website. We also provide hard copies in the clerk to the board's office and at the library. And of course, please reach out to me directly, that's for anybody with questions about the budget. You'll find my phone number up there. Commissioners, you have much to consider as you move from a recommended budget to the adopted budget that would reflect this board's priorities. We have the current and future state of our economy to take into account, and of course, and most importantly, the needs of our community. I look forward to working with all 5 of you through this important process.
Thank you, Manager York.
My pleasure.
I don't think we need questions now. We'll get time to consume all of this, and then we'll be back in June 1st. What we do need to have, though, is a discussion on our next meeting, if we would like that to be virtual or whatnot. We normally hold it in the auditorium because it's a public hearing. So there may be room for us to spread out down there, and I would be fine with that. We'll go to virtual and actually have a meeting in the auditorium, but
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Powell, Mr. Clay?
Good.
Yeah, that's fine. I agree.
Okay.
All right. That handles item number 9 for us.
Yes, that handles your June 1st meeting, and then we'll assume that your next meeting, your next regular meeting, which would be June 15th for the adoption of the budget, would also be a regular meeting, potentially back up in this boardroom, depending on what the restrictions are imposed at that time.
Okay. Very good. Chairman's report. I just want to take this time to thank our county employees and staff for keeping the level of service that our citizens are used to and expect during trying times. And so just wanted to make that publicly known. See you, and we appreciate you. Also wanted to mention to the board that I have asked staff to bring forth a text amendment to the county ordinance. Had an issue that a resident called me where they own their property. They have a home on their property since, I think they've owned it since the 70s, and they purchased a lot beside them, which is 2+ acres, I think, back in like '88. And they would like to put a garage on their neighboring parcel, but it's separate from their parcel where their home is. And our ordinance says that you can't put an accessory building unless you have a main dwelling, I think, on that lot. And so we've had this issue in the past where people come with things they want to do on their property, and our ordinance holds them up, or they just have to go and just spend money with a surveyor to just erase one line and combine the lots, and and then they can do what they want to do. So I think some of that is good, but I think some of our ordinance, we are a rural county, and if someone owns a adjoining property, and I'm only saying adjoining, not that I can own property beside your house and come put up a garage, but if I own the adjoining property, why shouldn't I be able to put an accessory building on that property? So I've asked the staff to put together a text amendment that will come back to us at a later date, but I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that. That's all I have, Manager Report.
Yeah, Commissioners, I wanted to make you aware that on Friday we made an offer again to our fire marshal candidate. That was our top candidate last time. He has thought about it again and has accepted the offer, so we're in the background process, of doing the background checks for him. But we have tentatively set a start date for June 22nd. So I know that's a position we've gotten a lot of questions on throughout the community, and fingers crossed that this worked out with this candidate. So I wanted to make you aware of that. That's all I have.
Commissioner Sims?
Yeah, I just, I don't know if any other commissioners here are getting phone calls about opening up our county. I know that we're under the governor's mandate, phase 1. I'm hoping that Friday the 22nd that we're going to see phase 2. But I mean, the people calling me are talking about reopening the houses of worship. They're talking about reopening barbershops and hair salons. I need a haircut too, and reopening restaurants. Again, maintaining social distancing, and of course gyms and fitness centers. And what I've seen, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but in South Carolina, they opened up Myrtle Beach. And if you could have seen the crowd there, and then you see the bars and the restaurants. And, our county's losing money. We're losing money with our restaurants being closed and our bars being closed and our businesses they're being closed. And it's something that I'm hoping that we're going to be able to see good news on the 22nd. But I'm also hoping if there's something we can do as a county, if there is, to where we can either speed this up or do something to so we can open up our county for our local businesses and for the citizens of Person County. I really feel, I know what you're going through, because, I want to be out there myself, and I want to be able to do the restaurants and go eat out at a restaurant and go get my hair cut and all that stuff. So I'm hoping there's something, good news will come Friday, or if there's something we can do as a county. I know we hear about these other counties who've said that, their sheriffs are not going to arrest anyone who goes to their churches and goes to churches and things like that. But I just want us to be good citizens, and I want to make a wise decision as county commissioners too. I just want to bring that up, and I just tell everyone to hang in there. Thank you.
Mr. Powell?
Well, maybe just in addition to what Commissioner Sims has just said, we all feel the same way about the circumstances that we're in right now. Most everything we're talking about are unknowns, and we don't have a crystal ball. I think we do have to approach cautiously. I think actually not only our county, state, but nation, world, we're in a situation, we aren't in an event. This is not something that just happened in a certain single location someplace. This is a situation that involves every man, woman, and child from our county, virtually worldwide. So we do need to approach cautiously. I'm anxious to do some of the things that Commissioner Sims mentioned. I certainly want to get back to somewhat of a normal life. And I don't know what and how that is to come about, but again, we thank all the county employees, all the overtime that's been put in, all the, actually I would say heroism that they performed during this pandemic, and they keep serving, regardless of their personal safety and the safety of their family. But again, let's move forward together, think logically, and thing out together. Thank you.
Commissioner Clayton,
I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Perrier.
No report.
Okay. We have the need for a closed session today. I need a motion to enter in closed session per General Statute 143-318.11A3 for the purpose to consult with the county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Heidi York, Clerk to the Board Brenda Reeves, and County Attorney Ron Aycock.
So moved.
Been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll need a brief recess. Get that turned over.
All right. For those that are on the commissioners and Ron that are on Zoom, we need just a few minutes to get everything situated here, and we'll be right back with you.
Okay.
After this commercial break.
Okay. Hello? Hello?
There you go. You think it's same.
Great minds think alike.
I got you on speakerphone.
That's where you're at, buddy. You're on speakerphone. You're on my speakerphone.
Jimmy, you hung up. Do I hear a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Been properly moved for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been properly moved for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Talk to you later, Carl.
So, see, everybody's documents back. Apparently, Russell, Amy, Laura, and myself all have the tax rate of 72. It should be 70-30.
I looked at that when you gave it to us.